Today on Significant Insights, I'm talking about a leadership transition. Stay tuned, you'll want to hear about it. Hello, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us today. This year, we're celebrating 40 years of broadcasting the gospel through television. I've been there from the start. In 1975, I was hired as the Vice President General Manager of Christian Communications of Chicagoland. 3 years later, I became the President, CEO of TV 38. That's what we were called before we became TLN and KTLN. All in all, I've had the honor to work in Christian television for well over 50 years. Now, that's a long time. So after a lot of thought and prayer, I've made the decision to retire as President, CEO of the Total Living Network. But retirement for me isn't sitting on a bench watching the world go by. In fact, retirement really is not even mentioned in the Bible at all. Moses was around 80 when he led the people out of Egypt. So I'm not going away, I'm just transitioning into a different role. At the Board of Directors' request, I will be remaining as the Chairman of the Board of Directors. And I will also continue to host Significant Insights each week, and I'll be providing advice and counsel to our leadership team. Well, on today's program, I want to introduce you to our new President, CEO, Debra Fraser. You've seen Debra on the air before, and KTLN viewers are very familiar with Debra. She has been with our California ministry, KTLN, since its very beginning in 1998. Debra has 30 years of television experience, has garnered a lot of broadcasting awards for KTLN. Debra's married. She and her husband, Jack, have 2 daughters, Kristen and Brooke. Debra, I would just like to offer my congratulations to you.
Thank you.
On your appointment to the CEO, President of not just TLN, but also TLI, which is the parent company of TLN. I was very pleased that the board made that decision, having known you as long as I've known you, and of your competency. I would be interested, I think that people watching today would be interested in knowing, how did you get started in all this?
Through a church. Being led to join a television ministry inside a church, and we're talking decades ago. But Jerry,
that was a pretty avant-garde church. I mean, they were really a future-thinking church.
They were a future-thinking church, up and coming, and it was kind of highly unnatural to do this, but they began a television ministry there. And the cable system, it was Don Ray Cable at the time, they actually, through trenches, they put a cable miles long from their headquarters to the church. Now think of
miles long.
Miles long to get there. A couple miles to get all the way over to the other end, because there's a very, very long span between the facility, and we're talking much older technology.
Oh yeah.
For the sole purpose of programming a channel 24/7 with Christian programming. It was desired by the cable system to have us do that. So live services on Sunday morning, services during the week.
So what part did you play in that?
Well, I ran camera at times. I did sing at the church several times, and so sometimes I was in that area. We had dramas, we were involved in dramas. I also ran the 24/7 television programming lineup. So I contacted, the different locations. I would bill them, just all the traffic, all the functions that.
So you were getting a full-orbed experience.
Right.
Actually in broadcast
yes.
television, because that's what you guys were really doing. You were
right.
cable casting, but it's the same thing you do in broadcasting television. You program 24 hours a day.
Exactly.
Which is an enormous task, by the way.
It took a lot of time. I was working full-time as well. And early on I was working with a school district in the area that I lived, and I was involved in personnel. I was involved in, I was considered a confidential employee, so I was involved with union contracts and a lot of various kinds of functions in that position. But I was going to become an attorney. I was a paralegal for several years, involved in law, different kinds of law, mostly corporate. And the law firm I was working with was going to put me through school, and the church was able to secure a license for Channel 42 in the Bay Area. And they asked me to come.
That was in Concord?
That was in Concord. And they asked me to come work for them. And my husband was in actually New York at the time working for ABC Sports for a couple months. He'd taken on an assignment, and we were trying to determine if we were going to live there. So he came home periodically, but over this period of time we were thinking we were going to do maybe a complete move. And I remember sitting down for dinner with him, and we'd been praying about it. You know, Lord, what do you want? It's not what I want. What do you want? And I remember him looking at me and saying, honey, I think God wants you to do this. I think you should give this a try. So I met with them. You know, I really felt that it was where the Lord wanted me to be. So we made the decision, and I started out with Channel 42 before they were on the air. What I didn't realize, Jerry, is all the experiences I had had in life, even as young as I was when I started some of my work experience, all of those areas were used in that job within the first few months.
It's amazing how God prepares us, isn't it? You know, I found the same thing true in the 11 years that I spent in commercial television, that before it was all over, I had done almost everything.
Right.
And all of that was necessary when I went into Christian television, and especially when I came to Chicago. So God prepares us, doesn't he?
Yes, and going through it, you know, Lord, what would you like me to do? Do you want me to be paralegal? Do you want me to go in law? You know, I got married during this period of time. And, you know, I have to say, sometimes it's not always clear until you get there. And then you can look back and you can see exactly the path. For you, you're not certain sometimes where you're supposed to head, but the path is clear after the fact when you can see. Through the experience and knowledge, I was able to help them hire full-time staff. I think at one point we were somewhere between 75, 100 employees, volunteers. I became the executive producer of, I think at one point we had 15 shows. One of them was 2 hours long, live nightly. So I would hire the staff. I learned traffic through my previous experience. I have hired the traffic director and helped set them up. Sales, you name it. I worked with health benefits. I worked with the personnel side, hiring and firing, unfortunately. And then also because of the promotions director, voiceovers. I was at 1-inch machines doing editing. There's just how the Lord used every skill He gave me for that purpose.
It was during that time that you and I met.
Yes.
Because when you guys had your fundraisers, on more than one occasion, I was invited to come out and be
You were
part of it.
usually first on our list.
Well, but I would come out and I would help with the fundraising,
Yes.
which I always enjoyed. But after coming out a couple of times and watching what you were doing, it was always impressive to me because you not only did you carry yourself well, but you were very professional, very competent, and ran a good show and put it together well. So when we then made the decision, when we acquired KTLN, which had a different call letter then, and the decision was made we were going to San Francisco, you were one of the first people I called. Well, there's a lot more to the story, including how Debra knew she should come to work for us. We'll talk about that right after the break.
I was in church worshiping the Lord on a Sunday morning, and I felt very strongly, you're going back to work. And I raised my hands. I'll remember where I think I'll remember this forever. I know where I was standing in the church. I know exactly where I was, and I said, Lord, I would love to work for you again, but I'll do whatever you have. And then you called me.
Welcome back. Today I'm talking with TLN's new president, CEO, Debra Fraser. As I explained in part one, I'm retiring from those positions, but I'll remain chairman of the board of directors, and I'll also continue to host Significant Insights. Before the break, I talked about our ministry acquiring a television station in San Francisco Bay Area in 1998. And because I had known Debra Fraser through her work with Channel 42 in Concord, I really knew she was the person we needed on our team. But what I didn't know is that Debra had been a stay-at-home mom for several years and really had not planned on returning to the workforce at all.
I was driving one day and I felt the Lord say to me, you know how, not out loud, just this, you know the feeling, you're going to go back to work. At the time, I was volunteering for the church, drama director, children's, all this stuff going on, and I don't know where I'm going to put that, but okay, and I felt it pretty strongly. 1 month later, the same thing happened. That time, I went home and told my husband, I said, I think I'm going back to work. I feel like the Lord's spoken to my heart. And he goes, well, because he'd seen that with me before. He kind of knows, okay, something's coming. And the last time that occurred to me, I was in church worshiping the Lord on a Sunday morning. And I felt very strongly, you're going back to work. And I raised my hands. I'll remember where I think I'll remember this forever. I know where I was standing in the church. I know exactly where I was. And I said, Lord, I would love to work for you again, but I'll do whatever you have. And then you called me that week.
From the beginning, you've had a passion. All the years that I've known you, you've had a passion for not just ministry, but Christian television. Did that come when you were working with the church, or did that begin to develop a little bit later when you saw the potential of all of this?
I believe that's it. I dedicated my life to Christ, again, but I dedicated my life when I was 12. My sister and I were involved in music, and we did travel, and we sang, and our heart was always to see someone's hand go up to accept Christ. I wrote music early on. We really had this passion for people to find Christ. And Jerry, like I said, it's because I don't know how someone goes through life and deals with all the stresses of the day without having Christ in their life. And I'm a gift giver by nature. I don't take, I love to give. So this is like the greatest gift you could have. So my heart has always been to just share it with someone else. And I'm also not pushy. And I could see how Christian television can reach so many people with that message of you don't have to do this alone.
Yeah.
And the
we call
Spirit
it
draws.
the city with no doors. That you get beyond the doors,
Right.
and into places that the church, for the most part, not a criticism, it's an observation, the church can't get to. People can close the doors and the church can't reach them. We can reach them. Television can reach them because it goes past all of that. And now internationally. What do you see the future of what we call Christian television?
I see that our concentration needs to continue to be honing in and concentrating on the message that is never changing, and that is the message of Christ. And there are going to continue to be new ways to offer that. Jerry, I still watch television, but I also watch internet. I have many means to receive information, and I think that we have to change with the technology. I think this ministry has done a very good job of doing that. And what is exciting is to see what we're doing now in many of those digital platforms. I was talking with some of our staff members just this past week, and to hear the number of minutes that are viewed from programming TLN has done.
On Roku, we have if I'm correct, we have Amazon.
Amazon
we
Fire.
We just signed on the Chrome TV.
And they're looking at Google.
Smartphones, you now can watch us on smartphones. We'll begin to market that a lot more. So, and with every one of those, and this is the thing that's so amazing to me, because I grew up in local broadcasting. In Dallas, I was in local broadcasting. In El Paso, when I was with CBS affiliate, we were local. We covered that market. Today, with the technologies that we're part of, we suddenly, by default, become international.
That's true. And I don't know if we have all the information in yet, where these minutes are coming from, but to know, you can know beyond a shadow of a doubt now through these other kinds of technologies exactly how long someone is watching the content. Jerry, that's exciting to me because they are not only engaging for a few minutes, but they're engaging to hear the entire message so that their lives are going to be changed. That's the ultimate goal of this ministry, is to change lives for the good.
More with TLN President and CEO Debra Fraser, including a message specifically for viewers. We'll be right back.
It is our goal to serve Christ and to serve our viewers to our utmost ability.
Welcome back. As I conclude my conversation with our ministry's new president, I asked Debra Fraser what she has experienced regarding our ministry's impact. You're around the Bay Area a lot.
Yes.
You've been everywhere around the Bay Area. You meet a lot of people.
Yes.
What has KTLN meant to them?
I don't know that I can give you one statement to answer that question, because I think of Rick, and he's an artist, and he also takes care of horses. You would love to meet Rick. I met Rick when he said, asked me if I worked for KTLN. Many people will just come up and and I encourage that. I consider them divine appointments. It's an opportunity for me to say, God loves you, and an opportunity also, Jerry, for me to invite them to give me prayer requests. And then our staff, I send the prayer requests out, and we pray for these individuals for a couple weeks, just, on their specific needs. But Rick keeps KTLN on his television all day long. He told me just a few weeks ago that there's just not that much on television anymore. That he can really feel comfortable watching. So even if he's not home, the television on because he wants to have the Spirit of the Lord in
Wow,
his house.
that's incredible.
I talked to Janet. Janet, Jerry, we have been praying for I would say, let's see, how long has Brooke been out of school? A year, so maybe 4 years for a relationship. And checked in with Janet just a few weeks ago as well. And the Lord's brought a young man into her life that loves the Lord. That was a criteria we agreed together to pray for, first of all, and they're now engaged. I think of Regina, who's counting on us to pray for her sister Mary, who is having surgery on her lymph nodes because of cancer. We've prayed before, and the Lord did deliver her from cancer in other areas, and now this is 4 years later, and it's back. So we're agreeing with her. The list can go on. KTLN is an experience. I guess that's the way to explain it. It is an experience. I think of the woman that I met at a store whose husband left her. And she said through all of that, KTLN has helped her continue. There's story and story just like that.
And as I talk to people like Pastor Gary Motera,
yes,
and Napoleon Kaufman,
yes,
the former famous running back for the Oakland Raiders, who's now pastoring a very, very successful church, and some of the other pastors who have said, there are numerous people in my church today,
yes,
as a result of tuning in and watching KTLN in one of the most liberal communities in the United States, the San Francisco Bay Area, one of the ground zero for the New Age movement in that area, and yet God is speaking to people. Positive things are happening.
Well, and I think a lot of people kind of just forget, San Francisco, forget the area, there can't possibly be Christian. But think about it, Jerry. You have to have a strong commitment to the Lord to be a Christian in the Bay Area. You become refined.
Yeah.
You are challenged by your beliefs. So you have to really discover deeply what your relationship is. It's maybe even more of a refined relationship.
What would you like to say to the viewers as the new president, CEO of TLN?
First of all, I'd like to say never give up on Christ. He never gives up on you. He never leaves you nor forsakes you, no matter what the circumstances might be and how you feel in that moment. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And it is our goal to serve Christ and to serve our viewers to our utmost ability. Jerry, I know the staff. My heart gets tender as I'm sitting here thinking of all of our staff members, and I know looking around this room, the hearts of the people who are here, Jerry, they pray for people they don't even know. They work endless, tireless hours. And they don't do it because it's a job. They do it because they love the Lord with all their heart, and they have a message, and they understand how powerful this medium is.
Yep.
So I am honored and truly honored to serve alongside our Gideon's Army.
Good.
Truly honored.
Hey,
And
thank
Jerry,
you.
I could say something that our pastor has on a wall, large wall in our new facility in the Bay. And I read it just a couple weeks ago. So I'd like to throw that out here as well. The best is yet to come.
Yeah. As I think over the 40 years of our ministry, I think of all of the lives, the thousands and thousands of lives that have been touched in all kinds of different ways, remarkable ways. The other night I was at the hotel in the Chicagoland area. I walked up to the lobby, and a man was sitting there, and he said, "I know you. Where do I know you?" And finally I said, "Well, maybe you saw me on television." He said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Jerry Rose." He said, "Oh, of course." And he said, "Years ago, I walked away from the church." He said, "I completely just abandoned my faith, abandoned the church, everything." And he said, "It was through the ministry of, at that time, TV 38, that God restored me, not only in my relationship with him, but in my relationship with the church." And he said, "I just want to thank you." And then he went on to talk about some other aspects when he went through a major health problem, of how we were able to encourage him. And that's repeated thousands and thousands of times in the lives of a lot of people. But that's just the beginning. I like what Debra said, the best is yet to come. God has a remarkable plan, especially in these times of turmoil that we're going through. I wouldn't have imagined 15 or 20 years ago that we would be going through some of the things that we're going through in our culture today. Practically an abandonment of God. But people need to know not only that there is a God, but there is a Jesus Christ who forgives sins. And that's what TLN is really all about, TLN, KTLN. You know, one of the things that I think is also very important, as I have talked about retirement, I really don't believe in retirement. I do believe in transition, because I believe that God has a plan for every season of our lives. And for those of you who are watching the program and maybe you've retired and you have no idea what to do with your life, and I've talked to a lot of people like that, the thing I want you to know, God still has a plan for you. And that plan was never just to sit on the sidelines and watch everything go by. It's find a place and make a difference. Find a place and make a difference. That's what God really has for you. And so as I look at the transition and still the involvement that I have with TLN, I look forward to it, because truly, as Debra said, the best is yet to come. God bless you. See you next time.